All right, back inside the Pirate Radio Zoom room with former ECU cornerback Emmanuel McDaniel. Zoom room brought to you by the Auto Store Group, theautostoregroup.com. Check it out. You can shop their entire inventory. Also, Cellular Warehouse. Call Toby Williams, 252-799-7051. White Claw Hard Seltzer, proudly distributed by Coastal Beverage Company, and your CBD store next to Duck Donuts on Arlington Boulevard. All right, like I said, great guest in the Zoom room today, Emmanuel McDaniel. We've been wanting to catch up with him and talk about his playing days, and we got him here today. Emmanuel, thank you for your time. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hey, man, doing great, doing great. Hopefully ready to watch some football here in a couple months. Been some tough times. So what we've been doing is watching some old games, Emmanuel, some old ECU games, and we've watched some of you back in your playing days with the Pirates. What were those days in the early to mid-'90s like for you? What memories stand out to you of being a Pirate?
I mean, all the bowl games. I mean, just hanging around with all my teammates. That's the part of the game that I miss. I mean, I still talk to some of the guys, Darren, David. I still talk to them once in a while. Of course, we all meet up at ECU every once in a while and have a good time as usual.
We love offensive numbers, Emmanuel. We love Marcus Crandall and throwing bombs to Larry Shannon and those guys. But I talked to Jeff Charles just last week about this. He said those Steve Logan teams were really underrated, running the football, but also on the defensive side. And, man, watching those old games with the Hart twins and Morris Foreman, rest in peace. I mean, you guys were getting after it on the defensive side.
I mean, we had a blast playing defense. I mean, we knew our offense was going to be good because of Coach Logan, what he brought to the table. And we had to step up and play good defense. I mean, if we played good defense, we knew we were going to win games.
You go to the NFL, you get your feet wet with the Carolina Panthers, but you had your best days. Unfortunately, I was rooting against you, Emmanuel. I'm a Redskins fan. So I remember your days with the Giants well. I wasn't a big fan of yours during those years. But you had some great numbers, 6 picks in 2000 and played in the Super Bowl. I'm sure you tried to make it as much like a normal game as possible. But when you're going NFC Championship, Super Bowl, what's that like, man? Is that like a normal game or is it so much bigger?
I mean, they try to say it's a normal game, but it's not a normal game. I mean, Super Bowl, when you sit there and you kick the ball off and you see all those lights go off, you kind of just want to stop and just look. Oh, I'm playing in the game. You just take off running again. And it's like, I mean, I still tell my kids this. I'm like, that was probably the most exciting football game that I ever played in. I mean, I had some memorable games in college, but that one was like no other.
And I saw you were defensive player of the game for the Giants in the NFC Championship win over the Vikings. Then you go on to the Super Bowl. How long did it take you to get your legs under you in the Super Bowl? You talked about wanting to look at the flash bulbs. Like, how long were you in the game before it felt like a real game? You know what I'm saying?
I actually started the game. We started the game. I was a nickelback, so we started the game in nickel. And, I mean, that was a blessing. And like I said, something I can always tell my kids I did. I mean, it was every game was kind of nerve-wracking until you get that first hit. I mean, even in college, you get that first hit, it's like, all right, all the jitters are gone away. It's time to play now. So it was a little nervous at the beginning.
Emmanuel McDaniel here in the Zoom room. Emmanuel, you go on to coach at Akron, get your feet wet in coaching a little bit, and then, of course, came here to be a strength coach assistant under Jeff Connors during the Ruff and McNeil era. Talk about returning home to ECU and being a strength coach here. What led you to that, and what were those days like for you?
I mean, when Coach Connors came back from Carolina, and like I said, I was at Akron with Coach Fleming, who was my defensive back coach at East Carolina. And I went up there, I volunteered for a year, and after that first year, the defensive back coach actually left and they hired me. So I think I was there from 96. I volunteered in 2006. And I think 2007 I got hired. And I mean, it was a good experience, but my goal was to get back to East Carolina. I mean, I had talked to my wife at the time and we was like, we want to move back to North Carolina. I mean, we left ECU. We was there at ECU. We left ECU, went to Charlotte. And Then we left and went from there to Ohio, amongst all the other places we lived while I was playing. But we always kept our base in Charlotte, in North Carolina. So I was like, if I ever get the opportunity, I want to go back to East Carolina and coach. And Coach Connor was there. Of course, Ruff didn't have many spots open for me to coach there. So I was like, all right, I'll do the next best thing. I go back and Coach Connor, Coach Connor was like my dad. I mean, to this day, he's like my dad. And I always wanted to go back and work with him because I knew it was like when I was there. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try to bring this to those guys, the newer guys, newer generation, and try to teach them the way.
So are Carden and Hardy and those guys as tough as you guys were in the 90s? Yeah, I always hear stories about Jeff Connors. Can Connors do what he did in 2013-14 than he did to you guys in the 90s?
No. No. I mean, me and Robert Tate, we actually went out and ran 300s with these guys. We had like 5 of them. I think at the time I was maybe 40, maybe 44, 43, 44. Tate was probably like 44, 45. It was like, all right, you guys, we want y'all to experience some of the stuff we experienced. We used to have to run 10 of them with a 30-second rest. Coach Connors only put those guys through 5 of them with a 30-second rest. So me and Tate was like, all right, we can't let them. Me and Tate was talking, we was like, we can't let them beat us. We can't let them beat us. We got to make this to prove it.
That's
so we went out and ran. Tate finished first, I finished first. And all of a sudden the guys started asking, they was like, how in the world did y'all make 10 of these? He was like, man, it was just will. We just had the will to win back then. I mean, not saying those guys didn't have the will to win. It was just, I mean, it's just a different type of player now. Totally different type. I mean, Coach Connors, we welcome everything he brought to us. Now it's like, with the whole heat thing and all that stuff, we didn't care about heat, to be honest with you. We never even thought about heat. I vividly remember when we used to have to make 10 of them before the season even started. We couldn't practice until we made 10 300s. And I think at the time we had like a mile run or something like that. So once we passed that test, we could practice. If you didn't pass the 10 300s during the summer, you couldn't practice until you made them. And our goal was like, if one person missed, we all miss. So, I mean, that was a big part of all of us coming together as a team. I mean, if one person missed, we took the notion that if one of us failed, we all fail. I mean, that's the way we played the game.
And Emmanuel, this is different, but there's been a lot of changes to the game and the football players, and obviously safety, number one, with concussions and targeting, the penalties they call now. What are your thoughts on how the game's changed? It sounds like from a conditioning standpoint, you wish it was still the same as it was when you played. How about the other changes in the game that have been made since then?
I mean, I understand the whole concussion problem, but for me personally, from a young age, you were taught football to, so to speak, put the screws, see what you hit. Now, sometimes I get a little upset about it, but I understand.
Yeah.
Because I'm going through some of the concussion issues myself. I understand, but once you teach a football player to do something so much, it's instinctive. You automatically go do it. You don't think about, all right, I'm going to get a concussion. It's like, it's muscle memory. Once you do something for so long, it's hard to break that habit. And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing a lot of penalties in the NFL and college football right now. I mean, granted, yeah, it is for protection, but it's hard to, I know for a fact in the NFL, it's hard for me to sit there and see a guy get fined, $7,500, $10,000, $15,000 for something he's been taught all of his life. Which, like I said, it's instinctive. You don't think about it, you go do it. Like for me, played nickel. Sometimes I had to line up on 280 tight end. If I had to go tackle that tight end, it was like, all right, this is my job. This is what I got to go do. Get it done. I mean, you never really thought about it, but afterwards you start to see the repercussions of it.
Is that kind of the key now? I mean, there's more. There's evidence on what happens to football players. Is it like now you kind of know the risk? Maybe the NFL was shying away from it a little bit back when you played, but now that you know the risks that you're taking and the money you're making, is it? Do you think it should be like, all right, guys, go for it? You kind of know what you signed yourself up for.
I mean, that's why you see guys now playing 3-4 years and getting out. I mean, you look at Charles Johnson, Megatron. Look at him. He had tons of years in front of him. It all started with Barry.
Barry Sanders.
I think Barry was stupid for retiring at the age that he did. But now you look back at it, and Barry knew this stuff before we did.
Yeah.
Barry was very smart. Yeah. Like, all right, he got in, did what he did, and got out. So, I mean, like I said, guys are retiring at an early age now.
Emmanuel, the $1 million question we've been asking everybody. We're wanting to see high school football, ECU football. I want to see my Redskins win 3 or 4 games this year. But do you think we'll get that in 2020? And what's it trending like for you? How are you optimistic we'll see some football?
I don't know. I mean, I looked at it the other day, and I know 7 guys, I think, at Arkansas State tested positive. 5 guys at Alabama tested positive.
Yeah.
I'm sure some other guys are testing positive. The hardest thing is when you start this off-season program, and I know players need it. Don't get me wrong. I totally know they need it before the season. You got to condition your body. You got to condition your body to take hits, during training camp. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's a lot of conditioning, weightlifting, and all that stuff. But it's hard to keep these kids away from each other. You put them on a college campus, nobody's on campus. You're going to go to video games. And coming in, unless you test every single one of these kids and keep them all quarantined, that's the only way you're going to have a football season. So, I mean, one person can spread it to everybody. You spread it to one person, next person get it, next person get it, next person get it. I mean, next thing you know, you got a whole football team full of people with COVID.
Tough situation, and man, we're just hoping right now, hoping for the best. Emmanuel, great to catch up with you, man, and talking some football and diving deep with you a little bit there. Appreciate you joining us today. Hope the best for you, and let's do it again down the road, man, when we have games to talk about.
Anytime, I'll be at a bunch of them. Once they start the season, I'll be there.
We'll see you out there, man. We'll see you out there. Emmanuel McDaniel joining us inside the Pirate Radio Zoom Room, brought to you by the Auto Store Group, Cellular Warehouse, White Claw Hard Seltzer, and your CBD store. We will see you next time.